Welcome back to YIIK. What did we do last time?
Well, we ranted about many other games, and did they really have to put the save point right there? So I have to be reminded.
Well, they really want to make sure you know how much they think Valhalla is a great game.
Oh, and Turing's here too. I didn't play 2046, was it? Or 2064?
I'm legitimately not sure what game that's from.
It's another game I think Eastbird put out. 2046 Read-Only Memories. It's also a visual novel. It's just sort of done in the style of a Mega Drive one, if I'm getting the console right.
I wanted to say for a minute that was a Daft Punk album.
Ah. Oh, I think Turing definitely fits into that aesthetic.
So you may notice that going forward, this is going to be a sort of, I don't know, let's say abbreviated run of this dungeon. This dungeon, as you can probably tell, is like, let's say massive. Massive's kind of an understatement.
Yeah, it seems sort of Nexus-based, where you have this central hub and have to go out in various branching directions.
Yeah, it's very much a hub and spoke thing. The trick is that certain spokes don't become accessible until you've done certain things in other spokes, which, you know, it's neither here nor there. It's a pretty standard thing. The trick is that there's no signposting here, right?
Right.
There's nothing telling you where to go. About the only thing that we've gotten so far for real that, like, denotes any progress is that extra slice of the door we got, right?
Right, and to a certain extent I can sort of understand why, because as far as hub-based dungeons go, this is one where there aren't very many hostile encounters so far from what I've seen. I mean, there are pretty lethal ones, but at the very least, it's the sort of thing that encourages you to stop and take a look around and take in the weirdness a little bit like the factory one, but that doesn't quite, Well, we've just made a child cry to possibly no end, but...
No, she actually takes a very long time to stop crying. Come to think of it, I don't think she actually does. But Vela says she'll get over it.
Okay, sure.
So, we've taken the baby blanket. Not a lot back there. These fade-ins become more and more frequent.
So if I had any inkling of thinking that that was supposed to be making fun of the game's composer somehow, I would appreciate it, but I don't think that's what's happening here.
No, it's absolutely not. You may have gathered that we kind of want to avoid those chopstick players.
Yeah, and the fact that they move so fast and erratically means that it seems like less of a test of skill and more of a test of luck.
It basically is. As far as I can tell, there's basically no pattern to it. They just kind of go where they want to.
Oh, hello.
Hubba hubba? Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Really?
The game even taunts you for it. Yeah! Fuck you, game. Have a cat. Fuck your balloon.
Man, I wish that were actually the answer.
Yeah, I was kind of, well, shot in the dark. I was kind of hoping that was the answer. It is unfortunately not the answer.
As far as self-loathing critiques work, it's almost effective.
Oh yeah, it was semi-effective, yeah. Oh. Oh. Uh-oh.
Oh no, you're getting literally caught in the rhythm.
I am. They do a lot of damage, like, Jesus Christ.
Jeez. Also, I understand it's supposed to be somewhat dissonant, but the fact that it's not even in time with the regular background music of this dungeon is slightly too much.
We never mentioned the background music in this dungeon, right?
No.
Like, is it just me, or is this background music really, really bad?
So, I get that it's sort of going for this alien-sounding, relaxed jazz bit, but it has slightly too much filigree, I think, is what's the problem.
That's kind of what I'm getting. Like, if they just sort of toned it down, like if they didn't, I don't even know what kind of instrument that is that's leading the melody. That sounds like a tenor sax to you, doesn't it?
Yeah. Might even be sort of just a... Well, it's at least more than one saxophone. I want to say it's slightly alto for what I'm hearing, but...
Yeah. Well, anyway, if there was just less of that, they could kind of make that work. But as is, it's just... You can't escape the sax. It's ever present.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's just a matter of it being kind of less is more in a way. It would be a bit more effective if it wasn't paired with another sax.
It almost sounds to me like they basically took one track of sax and then they overdubbed it and then made it sound like absurdly loud. Like, I was going through putting together the raw footage for this episode. It was tremendously loud. Like, it by itself was close to clipping.
Oh, that hurt.
Anyway, it's just a very bad look.
Yeah, there's cases in this game where the soundtrack certainly seems to be at cross purposes with its own atmosphere.
It's doubly difficult for me personally because, as I said, what you're seeing here is a very abbreviated version of my time in this dungeon. So, whereas you may be hearing this soundtrack for, 10-minute bits at a time, I heard it for like,
Alex!
well, longer than I would care to admit. Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, I will say this about this particular enemy design. I appreciate the fact that when he hits you, the hit sparks include sheep.
Oh yeah, no, I noticed that actually. That's a pretty nice touch. Well done, game.
Again, we'll always, I think, do our best to give this game its props when it does something noteworthy of respect.
Oh, totally.
And speaking of noteworthy...
My god, Mode Wondershot. Did you watch this episode in advance? You could have planned that.
I'm sorry, but sometimes the wit just shines through despite me.
Mode Wondershot, your treachery knows no bounds.
Anywho, So, I feel as though this is setting up a puzzle where we're actually going to have to remember this, so... what does that say that this game's going to attempt to impart music notation to an audience that theoretically might not be familiar with it at all?
Well, I guess I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you now. We don't actually have to remember that melody, because holy shit. I can think of a couple games, actually, that I played fairly recently that did require you to remember the melody. I'd like to say each of the Zero Escape games has at least one puzzle where you have to play a melody on piano.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no, the real answer to the puzzle is that we have to get a drink from Jill to calm Vela 2's nerves, I guess?
Okay.
I don't know how to refer to the various Velas.
Also, as far as unfortunate cameos, I think the thing that I'm also getting a little thrown by is the fact that since Valhalla's already come out, I feel that Jill has a very distinctive voice that isn't being reflected in this game's writing appropriately.
Well, that would sort of imply, I guess, that there's a level of deafness to the writing in this game that, historically just doesn't seem to be there.
I mean, at this point, I feel like there isn't even any excuse anymore that Valhalla was out while this was in development, so...
And that's the thing, like, Valhalla had been out for, what? It's not old, but it's been out for, like, a few years, right?
I want to say 2016, but I could be very wrong about that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Diacorn and editing, don't forget to put another one of those little things where you...
Yay, I love those things. I like being called out.
Stop!
good thing about the stop sign. Apparently they stun now if they hit you.
Huh.
That's cool.
Well, I did see a pun there about them being unstoppable, so...
Yeah, it's thematically appropriate, isn't it?
True, but again, maybe something that doesn't quite work as a battle concept. I don't know exactly how debilitating stuns are in this game yet, though, so...
Well, they're not debilitating at all when it's Rory who gets stunned.
I suppose that is the case.
It was around this time where I was starting to wonder if Michael's damage had fallen off or if the enemies were just scaling really, really hard.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's a little bit of both.
Probably. But that's the thing, Michael's skills are already kind of crap, right? I don't know what to do with them. Ow!
Well, I don't know, when was the last time we had stepped into Alex's mine dungeon in order to level everyone up?
A couple episodes ago, actually. It wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
Everybody in the party right now is at, I think, level 25.
Yeah, that sounds right from what I was seeing earlier.
I went into the mine dungeon, though I did it off screen, just before I went into Vela's mine dungeon, because I thought there might be monsters here.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing out here.
Yeah, so that enemy was guarding absolutely nothing, which is, you know, it's subversive, but not in a good way.
Yeah, cool, I guess.
I mean, maybe you need to grind for something that's coming up? I don't know.
Well, this game sort of does the hand-placed encounters thing, which is to say that there's no... Well, there's a finite amount of XP. This isn't like Final Fantasy or whatever, where you can just walk around in the overworld or whatever until you decide that you've leveled enough, right?
Right.
I guess that's part of what bugs me, in particular about the way they're doing enemy scaling, because we're already fairly late into the game. It's not unreasonable to think, for example, that late in the game the fight should get more difficult. But I shouldn't expect the enemy's hit point totals and damage totals to just double or triple overnight.
Yeah, as the thread pointed out, it's the sort of thing where way old RPGs would signpost this quite effectively is by, even if they did have a very limited number of enemy designs, they would palette swap them just to indicate, hey, this is the tougher version of the thing you fought before, but you can still expect a certain degree of consistency from it.
Well, yeah. And that was another thing that really surprised me about the discussions on palette swaps that were had in the thread. I hadn't expected it to be literally as easy as swapping a 32 by 32 PNG for each monster.
This is for you.
I mean, I can't speak to how Unity works specifically, but that's somewhat sensible in my opinion.
Same. I'm not particularly worried about the enemy damage because, you know, especially Claudio has like 1,000,000 hit points. Alex still has 10 hit points because I equipped the latest record. So I am a little bit concerned about him, but you are going to see me using time energy a little more frequently now.
Also, I'm thinking it might not be a bad idea to swap in Chandra for Rory again at some point so that we can get the use of more efficient items, I guess.
That's good thinking. As a point of fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Are you sure you didn't watch this episode beforehand?
Dacorn, I may be many things, but trustworthy, I hope, is one of them.
So I guess the linchpin of my Alex building plan, at least as far as what I've been calling the Hotline Miami build, is that he's excellent as long as, number one, he doesn't get hit, and number two, he has enough PP to throw stuff. And as long as those two conditions are met, Alex is able to wipe enemy parties with ease. Unfortunately, because of the way that Alex's Mine Dungeon works, no matter how much I prioritize PP, I still can't get enough of it, right?
Right.
Like, at the current number, I get, well, it's 35 maximum PP, and it's 5 per LP toss. So I get 7 LP tosses before I have to go and re-up. Fortunately, 1 LP toss is, at this point, usually enough to one-shot most, if not all, of the enemy parties. So, theoretically, the math actually kind of works out.
Yeah, and I mean, remind me what the situation is with drinking fountains in this particular level.
Well, there is one. We have not found it yet. But we do have Chandra in play, and she can spread items. If we ever happen to get to a point where somebody needs a lot of PP, or, well, I guess if we ever get to a point where everybody needs some PP, she's kind of got us covered. But we've also got plenty of just good items I've been hoarding throughout the playthrough, like the, I think, what, 6 Ambrosias? The 100%, 100%?
Yeah. Admittedly, that is fairly common in JRPGs of this stripe.
Ouch! Well, yeah. It's like the... There was a gun in the original Resident Evil that had 2 bullets, and it was too awesome to use. That was it, right?
Right. That's the term.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of how the Ambrosias are. Yes, there is a... Oh, hey, speaking of which.
Excellent.
There is, in fact, an
Ambrosia in that trash can? Well, admittedly, that is just ultimately a pretty idiomatic trick of old RPGs that had very simple tile sets like this. If you had a certain amount of 3D movement available to just hide something behind another object.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm actually okay with that. You know, it rewards the player for exploring, and not in a way that penalizes other players for not exploring.
Precisely. As an aside, from that last battle theme, I think that was a new one?
We'd actually had that a couple times, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, it is definitely one of the better ones. You noticed it, did you?
Yeah, and the thing in particular I was noticing is the fact that it very clearly has a variant of the base sound font that was used in Earthbound.
I didn't even notice that.
It's that fact that it's a very kind of flat, even-sounding bass line in the background that kind of clued me into it.
Yeah, you're a lot better at noticing stuff like that than I am. Also, can I just point out how incredibly creepy it is to be walking around and meeting these various Velas who talk to us about what their greatest fears are and what their biggest turn-ons are?
And that supposedly Vela has body image issues that were still somehow deep-seated and unresolved, if that's what this is implying?
Well, there's been nothing so far that's indicated anything about her love of baby faces or her body image issues. I guess good on them for not highlighting that fact, but...
Well, the fact that it's in here anyway is sort of... I don't know, it seems that as far as presentations in each respective mine dungeon are concerned, there's definitely an imbalance in terms of the fact that Vela's mine dungeon seems to be exposing all of these things about her that are, you know, quite personal, and also her own perception of her own flaws, regardless of whether or not that's apparent in any way from any interaction we've had with her up to this point. Whereas Alex's just seems to have, well, it's got Marlene the Crow, it has these mysterious figures who are there to sort of build up intrigue, and so far no indications of the things like the Council of Alex's that are meant to reveal these deep-seated fears and concerns that he has.
I have noticed that. For gameplay purposes, Alex's Mine Dungeon does not fundamentally do the same things that Vela's Mine Dungeon does. It's not there to reveal insecurities. That delivery mechanism seems to be the Council of Alex's and all that other stuff, the various asides that we have, and that sort of thing.
This is for you.
I would almost argue that that's the poorer approach, right? Like, I would rather this be more of a show not tell type thing.
Precisely.
I would love, for example, for one of those mysterious figures in Alex's mind dungeon to be one of the Council of Alex's grilling him about, you know, some stupid shit he did.
Trick shot!
I'll also note from a mechanical standpoint, there's something kind of interesting that happened there. Do you know for sure if on successful blocks you're guaranteed to survive with 1 health point?
I don't know.
Because that's just happened twice, and I suspect that it's not just a matter of luck, but actually part of how that particular system's designed. And if that is the case, that's actually kind of clever. It's a good touch, I think, when you're supposed to ultimately be rewarding someone for being able to hit small targets consistently.
Yeah. No, that's actually a pretty cool thing if they do that. At least as far as such a subsystem is concerned, I guess you would still have to have the ability to get knocked out of that sort of state, right?
Right, but I imagine it's where if you take a hit when you're at 1 HP, you're down regardless of whether you block it or not.
Oh, so it's sort of like Devil May Cry or something, whereas you will go down to having no health, but the next hit will kill you.
Yeah, it's a sort of last HP grace thing.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. That, or you could do something sort of like how Darkest Dungeon does it, where every hit thereafter has a chance to permanently kill you, but none of them are guaranteed to kill you.
Also, I just noticed that Jill used her catchphrase. So yes, they did actually play Valhalla, and
somebody did, yeah.
Yeah, or at least they were told what the catchphrase was.
Well, good for them, I guess, for playing. I want to say a better game, but it's a low bar to set.
Yeah, at this point, that's really, I think the best we can do with regards to this game, as we've seen, is damning with faint praise. That's the term.
Yep. Y2K. Just don't make us hate you anymore, please. We're already giving you the benefit of the doubt. You're a loose cannon, Y2K.
Turn in your badge and gun.
You're off the force.
And you know, I feel as though if this game... Hey, that's not a bad touch.
Oh no, I actually thought that was legitimately really cool how they did that. It doesn't make the background music any better, but good touch.
I mean, no points for doing it after, I don't know, Super Mario Odyssey did a really excellent job of it.
Also keep in mind that took me like an hour to get to this point.
Yeah.
So. I was just happy to be, I didn't even care, I just want it done.
What in the world else do we have to do? And we have to do this 3 more times, apparently.
We have to find 3 more Velas. The stage manager is, of course, being absolutely no help. There are no Velas back here.
There's a stage light setup?
There is, but we actually hit those to turn on the lights when we first got here.
Right. Also, I noticed there on the heart door that it's reserved for the one Vela loves.
REM?
Well, you know, pretty good guess, but what do we want to bet that Alex is going to be the one who's in there?
That is actually a good guess. I'm not going to confirm, nor am I going to deny that that is the answer.
This game's predictability, at least, continues to bring my mood down.
At this point, there's still plenty of stuff the game can do, like in the back half of the story, to really impress us, but I'm not really sure where we're going to go after we get Mystical Ultimate LP Legend. This is almost like the end of the second act, right?